Hi, this is Gail Sokol. On today's show, we're going to talk about Ganache, what it is, and how you can use it.
Welcome to Baking Radio. Learn the art and science of baking with author, educator, and award-winning chef, Gail Sokol. Whether you've been baking your whole life or you're brand new to the world of baking and you're looking to build your confidence and learn new skills in the kitchen, you're in the right place. This is Baking Radio.
So let's define Ganache. What is it? It has this mysterious name. It's actually a French term or a French concoction of heavy cream and chocolate. And that's all it is. The heavy cream is heated, usually to a boil or a simmer, which is just under a boil, removed from the heat, and chocolate, chopped chocolate in various degrees is added. And when the chocolate melts, that beautiful, silky smooth, dark, fudgy gloriousness is what Ganache is. And it can be used for so many different things. But it depends on how thick the Ganache is, and that will determine how you can use it. If it's super thick, you can use it as a fudge frosting and actually spread it on a cake, just like you would a regular buttercream frosting. It's absolutely delicious. If it's super thick, you can actually take little ice cream scooperfuls of it, take little bits of it and drop it on a sheet pan with cocoa powder, roll them, freeze them, dip them in melted chocolate, and we call those truffles. Those are homemade truffles. Those are spectacular. So you can do that as well. If you leave it thin, it can be poured over a cake and literally just poured over the cake, and it will harden on that cake like a very smooth ice pond. But of course, it's chocolate. It's very dark, and it will be very shiny. Now, you can add other ingredients in Ganache as well. It doesn't just involve heavy cream and chocolate. That's the basics. If you want to make a super quick, easy one, and you're in a pinch and you have nothing else, heavy cream and chocolate will do you fine. Other ingredients that you can add to Ganache can make it even richer, and that is things like butter. And not a lot of butter, but just like a few tablespoons of butter. Corn syrup. Corn syrup gives frostings, and especially Ganache, this sheen, this beautiful shininess. Fruit purees. You can use liqueurs, other flavorings like tea, like matcha, vanilla extract, or you can add a vanilla bean that you split in half and put it in the cream to infuse the cream with vanilla flavor. Then you remove the bean's pod, and then you add your chocolate. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to Ganache to make it absolutely that much richer and more flavorful. You can even add coffee. You can add nut oils, things that will give it flavor. The other thing I love to do with Ganache is I love to store it in the freezer. So if I have a fudge frosting and I have excess, which I never complain about having extra Ganache, there will always be a use for it. Get yourself an airtight container, pour it into that airtight container, let it cool to room temperature, cover it, date it, and label it, and put it in your freezer for 3 or 4 months. Whenever you want some Ganache or you want to make a hot fudge sundae, whenever you want to take a cake and cover it, maybe you want to buy a store-bought cake because you don't have time and you have relatives coming over or friends coming over and they're unexpected. Just pour some Ganache over it and boy, it'll reach to a new level. So Ganache is worth its weight in gold. I call it liquid gold. It's spectacular. So let me give you a very typical recipe for Ganache. 1 cup of heavy cream and 2 cups of chopped chocolate. That's it. That's a recipe. That is it. So I actually bring the heavy cream to a boil, put it in a heavy saucepan. Do not let it overflow because heavy cream and a lot of dairy products can boil over very quickly on the stovetop. Once it comes to a boil or even slightly below the boil, take it off the heat. Literally take it off the burner. Add chocolate right into the saucepan. Some chefs like to take the boiled or the simmered cream and pour it into or on top of the chopped chocolate, which has been put into a bowl. I don't like to do that because I find the chocolate doesn't melt thoroughly. So I like to put the chocolate into the hot, heavy cream, and the saucepan's already warm. So it really aids in the melting process of the chocolate. So once you do that, you want to whisk this concoction up and just wait until that chocolate melts. And if you're going to add enriched products like butter or sugar, sometimes a little bit of sugar, maybe a tablespoon of sugar, you can do that with the heavy cream because you want that sugar to dissolve as well and the butter to melt. So at that point, that's when you would add some of those ingredients or coffee grounds or instant coffee, things like that. So this is a super easy way to make ganache, and it's super fast, and you can multiply this recipe, and that's a 2-to-1 ratio. So we have 2 parts chocolate to 1 part heavy cream, and you can multiply that and make as much or as little as you want. If you have any questions about ganache, head on over to bakingradio.com and leave me a message. I'd love to answer some of your questions on air. Next week, we're going to be talking pie crusts.